And we start off in Guinea, where a recommendation of independent experts published a year ago for a review of the country's electoral register is now generating reactions and debates. Political analysts and players in the country are debating on the choice of the institution or the firm that must carry out the project. Currently, Guinea's Electoral Commission has mulled the idea of a local firm for this, but there are two stages involved in the process: the technical operator in charge of verifying the identity of voters, and the latter stage, which is the compilation of a new electoral database register.
Well, Jerry, the revision of the electoral register is the subject of all debate in Guinea. Opposition and the government are fighting hard through media outings and campaigns to gain support for this project. While the government says it has the support of all members of the government, on the other hand, the revision of the basic law is opposed by the National Front for the Defense of the Constitution.
Thank you, and let's bring him in right now. Good morning to you, Mohamed Mara, a political analyst from Conakry, Guinea. Thank you for joining us on the program, and let's get right into it. In anticipation of of Guinea's upcoming elections, the country is about to revise its electoral register, but the opposition is skeptical about the credibility of the Electoral Commission to conduct this operation. What do you make of this grouse?
Alors, eu égard au passé récent de notre pays,
in view of our country's recent past, it is quite understandable that the Guinean opposition is now very skeptical about the guarantees of credibility and, above all, transparency that the Independent National Electoral Commission is trying to portray. Because quite simply, we currently have a file that has been the subject of several transfers. Since 2010, we have had three major elections, two presidential elections in 2010 and 2015, which have seen different operators. And in 2010 it was SAGEM, and in 2015 it was Gimalto, and then we also had the 2013 legislative elections with another operator called Waymark. So with each election today in Guinea, it is necessary to revise the electoral register. But these are not the same systems. And during the operation, which aims to transfer the electoral file from one operator to another, there are a lot of problems. It does not always happen in conditions of optimum transparency. So that is a real problem today. Last year, the register was revised. What actually came out of it that made the opposition so afraid? Recently, precisely a year ago, the electoral register was revised. You're right to recall that 1,564,000 registered Guineans were found. But either their fingerprints were not fully found, or those whose fingerprints were found were only halved, which led the opposition to say these are 1.5 million fictitious voters. In a register that contains a total of 5 million people, 1.5 million is an extremely high proportion. Hence, the suspicions of the opposition, especially since in some constituencies of Upper Guinea, Guinea Forestier generally in favor of the President of the Republic in place, you have an increase in the number of voters in some constituencies of nearly 65% compared to the last presidential elections.
Mohamed, we understand that much remains to be done, but do you think that there could be a shift in the electoral calendar?
Yes. You know, in the electoral calendar, there are operations that cannot be compressed. Let me use this very simple example. The installation of the various branches of INEC in the country should normally have taken place earlier. But it was only on August 3rd, a few days ago, that INEC was announced And it announced that this branch would be the subject of the installations. But there is a problem. It is that since Monday, CENI has not been able to agree with the political parties, not only on the lack of calculations of the representatives of the various political parties, but also of civil society in this dismemberment. This is already a first problem. And then there is a question of training, particularly for those election officers, because there is already a timetable that will be almost 2 months late. The normally announced November date cannot be kept because we are not even talking about the embedding of the operator who will clean our electoral register. So this electoral register still includes 3 million voters out of a total of 5 million whose situation remains to be clarified, which is still extremely worrying, I should say.
Mohamed Mara, I'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts and insights with us. Thank you for speaking with us this morning.